I spent my whole life running from my father. I built a loving family, a peaceful home, everything he never was. Then he died, and something impossible started happening to me. My eyes changed color. My voice became his. And 3 nights ago, I said something to my 7-year-old daughter that made her look at me with the same terror I once felt for him. This is not a metaphor. Something is literally turning me into the monster I escaped, and I'm running out of time to stop it.
My name doesn't matter. What matters is that I'm a father and a husband. I make pancakes for my daughter every morning and let her drown them in syrup. I kiss my wife every evening and tell her about my boring day at the office. I am normal. I am loving. I am everything my father was not. And I built this life, brick by boring brick, as a fortress against the man who raised me. My entire existence has been a reaction to him. My greatest fear has always been that one day I would become him. And now, I think it's happening. Literally. My father was a hard man. He came from a long line of hard men who worked with their hands and believed the world would bend to their will through sheer force. He worked in construction, and he carried the brutality of that work into our home. Our house wasn't a home, it was his domain. My mother and I weren't family, we were his property. He told us this constantly.
"You belong to me," he'd say, his voice a low, threatening rumble. "This family, this bloodline, it will not be weak. You will be made in my image." To him, pain was the tool that shaped everything. When I was 8 years old, I got a B+ on a math test. He took off his belt, and the lesson I learned that night had nothing to do with mathematics. It was about the sting of leather on skin, the hot shame, the metallic taste of blood in my mouth. I never got another B+. When I was 12, I wanted to quit the soccer team. I wasn't good at it, and the coach yelled just like my father did. My father's response was simple and cruel. He locked the pantry and the refrigerator. "The strong eat," he said, sitting at the dinner table with his steak while I watched, starving. "The weak learn to be strong." I didn't eat for 2 days. I stayed on the team.
My mother tried to protect me. In the beginning, she was a buffer, a soft place to land. She'd tend to my wounds, sneak me food when he wasn't looking. But years of his cruelty eroded her. She became quiet, jumpy, a ghost in her own home. The violence wasn't just for me. A dropped dish, dinner 5 minutes late, a glance he interpreted as defiance. Anything was a reason. I'd lie in bed at night listening to the muffled sounds from their bedroom, my hands clenched into fists under the covers. I hated him with a purity that felt sacred. And I hated her, just a little, for enduring it instead of protecting me.
When I was 16, she left. She packed a single bag while he was at work and disappeared. No note, no goodbye. She didn't even look back for the son she was leaving alone with a monster. I can't blame her, not really. You can only survive in a war zone for so long before you have to flee. But her absence created a vacuum, and his attention fell entirely on me. The abuse intensified. The day I turned 21, I left too. I walked out with a backpack and $200. He stood on the porch, arms crossed over his thick chest. He didn't try to stop me. "The world will break you," he said, his voice flat and certain, "and you'll come crawling back. You're my son. You can't escape what you are." I didn't look back. I swore to myself that day that he was wrong. I would not be him. I would be kind. I would be gentle. I would build a life so full of love and warmth that it would burn away his shadow forever.
And for 10 years, I thought I had succeeded. I met a wonderful woman. We got married. We had a beautiful daughter. I built my fortress. I was safe. I had won. Then, 3 weeks ago, everything changed. The call came from a hospice nurse. Her voice was professional, detached. My father was dying. Lung cancer, aggressive and fast. He didn't have much time left, and he was asking for me. It was his final wish, she said. My first reaction was absolute and immediate.
No. Good. Let him die alone. Let him face his end without the son he tried to break. Let him suffer. The hatred I thought I'd buried was still there, hot and alive, burning in my chest.
I'd told my wife I wasn't going. She looked at me with this deep, sad understanding. "I know what he did to you," she said softly, taking my hand, "and you don't owe him anything. But our daughter has never met her grandfather. Maybe this is the only chance she'll ever have. Not for him, for her. So one day she can know where half of her comes from." She paused. "And maybe for you too. So you can see him as just a dying old man. So you can finally let him go." Her kindness has always been my greatest weakness. She was right. I would do it for her and for our daughter. I would do it to prove once and for all that I was not my father. A kind man visits his dying parent, no matter what they did.
The hospice was quiet and sterile, smelling of cleaning products and fading hope. He was in a private room. When I walked in, I barely recognized him. The man who had been a giant of muscle and rage, a roaring fire that consumed my childhood, was now just a pile of bones under a thin white blanket. His skin was yellow and paper-thin. His breathing was a shallow, wet rattle. All the strength, all the power was gone. All that remained was the hardness in his eyes. He saw me, and something flickered across his face. Not joy, not relief, just recognition. I stood by the bed while my wife and daughter waited nervously in the hallway. I didn't know what to say. "You wanted to see me," was all I could manage. He coughed, a dry, rattling sound. "The girl," he rasped, his voice a ghost of what it used to be. "Is she strong?" "She's happy," I said coldly.
Not the same thing, he said. He was quiet for a long time, his eyes searching my face. Then he said words I never thought I'd hear from him. "I'm sorry." The words hung in the air, heavy and impossible. I waited for excuses, for justifications. They didn't come. "I'm sorry," he repeated, barely a whisper, "for what I did, and for what will happen." "What does that mean?" I asked, a nut of dread forming in my stomach. "What's going to happen?" He tried to smile, but it was just a grimace of pain. He reached out with a trembling skeletal hand and gripped my wrist. His skin was cold, but his grip had a shocking strength to it. "It's a full circle, son," he whispered, his eyes boring into mine. "We all end as we began. It's just the way of things." And that was it. His eyes lost focus. The hand on my wrist went limp. One long final rattle from his chest, and then silence. He was gone.
The funeral was small and awkward. A few old co-workers, a distant cousin. I said the words you're supposed to say. I accepted condolences. And then I went home feeling empty. Not relieved, not free, just hollow. The first week after his passing was normal. But then I started noticing things. Small things at first. It started with my hand. I was washing dishes and noticed a strange, dry patch on the back of my hand. I looked closer. It wasn't just dry skin. It was a fine, web-like pattern of cracks, like a drying riverbed. I put lotion on it. It didn't help. The next day, the patch was larger. Then it was my eyes. I've always had my mother's eyes. Light, warm hazel. One morning I was brushing my teeth, looked in the mirror and froze. My eyes weren't hazel anymore. They were a cold, steely, unforgiving gray.
They were my father's eyes.
I stumbled back from the sink, heart pounding. It had to be a trick of the light. I spent the next hour moving to different rooms, checking my reflection in windows and spoons. It wasn't a trick. They were gray. They were his. My temper started to fray. I've always been a patient man, but I found myself snapping. My wife asked a simple question about a bill, and I bit her head off. My daughter spilled her juice, and I yelled at her, my voice so sharp and loud it made her cry. The moment the words left my mouth, I was horrified. I apologized profusely. I hugged them, told them I was sorry, that I was just tired and stressed from the loss. They forgave me, but it kept happening. A core of cold, hard anger was growing inside me, an invasive weed in the garden I'd so carefully cultivated. The breaking point happened last night. My daughter brought home a drawing from school, a picture of our family. Me, my wife, her. She'd gotten a gold star on it. She was so proud. I told her it was wonderful. Then she showed me a math worksheet from her backpack. She'd gotten 2 questions wrong. Something inside me snapped. The disappointment I felt was irrational, massive, and it wasn't mine. It was his. I heard myself speaking, but the voice felt like it was coming from someone else. "This is not good enough," I said, my voice low and cold. I tapped the paper, jabbing at the red marks. "Too wrong. I don't raise daughters who make mistakes. I don't allow weakness. You will be the best. You will not fail. You will be made in my image." The words echoed in the quiet kitchen. My daughter's face crumpled. Tears streamed down her cheeks. My wife just stared at me, her face a mask of shock and dawning, terrible fear.
And I stared back, horrified, because I had just spoken my father's words, the exact creed he'd eaten into me. The poison I had spent my entire life running from had just poured from my own mouth. I ran to the bathroom and locked the door. I looked in the mirror. My father's gray eyes stared back at me, full of cold fire. The cracks on my hand had spread up my arm, a network of fine gray lines spreading like roots. And my hairline was receding, thinning at the crown in the exact same pattern as his. It's a full circle. We end as we began. I'm terrified. I'm scared of what I'm becoming. I'm scared of what's happening to my body. But most of all, I'm terrified of what I'll do to my family when there's nothing left of me. When I look at my daughter now, I see fear in her eyes when I walk into a room. The same fear I had when my father came home. And that's how I know the cycle has already begun.
I don't know what this is. A curse? A possession? Some kind of genetic inevitability that science can't explain? I built a fortress of love to keep him out, but he was inside me all along. And now he's breaking through the walls I spent a lifetime building. Every day I wake up and check the mirror. Every day there's more of him and less of me. The cracks are spreading. My voice is deepening. I caught myself standing the way he used to stand, arms crossed, jaw clenched. I'm losing myself piece by piece, and I don't know how to stop it. Is this my punishment for hating him? Is this what happens when you spend your whole life defined on what you're running from? Or is this something darker, something he set in motion with those final words? A full circle. We all end as we began.
I'm sharing this because I need to know I'm not alone. I need to know if anyone else has experienced something like this, if there's a way to fight it, a way to break the cycle before I become the monster that destroyed my childhood, before I destroy my daughter's childhood the same way. Because right now, I'm watching myself transform into the man I swore I'd never be. And the worst part is, I can feel myself starting to accept it, starting to think that maybe he was right all along, that you can't escape what you are, that the apple never falls far from the tree. But I have to fight it, for my daughter, for my wife, for the life I built. I can't let him win, not after everything, not after I finally escaped. There has to be a way to stop this. There has to be.
If you've made it this far, thank you for listening. If this resonated with you in any way, please hit that like button and subscribe. Leave a comment below and tell me what you think is happening to me. Have you ever felt like you were becoming someone you swore you'd never be? Have you ever felt trapped by your own bloodline? I need to hear from you. We share stories like this every week. Real stories about family, trauma, and the things we inherit that we never asked for. Visit our channel and turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. Remember, we can't choose where we come from, but maybe, just maybe, we can choose where we end up. I'm still fighting to believe that. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.